This is Ahmad Tarwat, and Ramadan started last week, a few days ago. So millions of people, billions of people are celebrating the holy months of Ramadan, the fasting months, and it's a great month. Get together and eat together and fast together and place time. It's a great tradition for Muslim that comes once every year. But I was having iftar at Marhaba, a restaurant in South Minneapolis, and that was Thursday when the news of Trump's criminal indictments just descended on us during that time, and people were getting ready for breaking fast, and everybody was, you talk about probably 100 were in that restaurants, and everybody, trying to wait for the call for prayer, sunsets, and eating all of that, and nobody really care about the news, and it's on the television flashing, and I was having, iftar with a couple of friends, and it really struck me about what these people, what's going on. Everybody's tuning in, waiting for this indictment, but they have different priority. Even when I talked to a gentleman next to me on the table, Somali Muslim, about if you heard about Trump indictment, and about the adultery, adultery, so it's just, they are just tuned into moral value system, committing an adultery when he was married, and was a porn star, not the hush money, not evading tax, not trying to cook the books, and to enhance his chance for election 2016. Very, very interesting. But anyway, it's a big news, and we don't know what the indictment. He's still not convicted yet. We're going to find out this Tuesday what all this all about. There is other 30 different charges beside paying a porn star and hash money and cover up. We don't know what the judge of Manhattan, New York, Mr. Briggs is bringing or hiding or entailed or having his legal tools here. So they're very interesting. So it's going to be a show of the town, media circus. The O.J. Simpson trial. Maybe we can see Trump driving his SUV Bronco, whatever, and a helicopter zooming in, and like cop show, and somebody drag him from the car and cuff him and put his hands in cuff and whatever, push his head down inside the car. The things that we see on TV police shows, where we show how the police and detective arresting blacks and criminals and Judas, kind of define this image of most of the crimes are committed by blacks. So white crimes and all of this I'm sure it's going to have a different laws, different regulation. It's the legal ramification, why you invite somebody for lying or having sex or whatever, and you don't indict, ex-president. We don't indict, American ex-president that illegally invaded other country and caused the death of hundreds of thousands of people and wasted trillions and billions of dollars. And they are free, they're having party now, they're drinking together. Clinton and Bush and Michelle now probably they're having a drinking champagne and all of that. So we're going to talk to Professor David Schultz, a professor of political science at Hamline University. So stick with us. We'll be with Professor David Schultz very.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
So, how's your day so far?
So far, good. So, like I said, I shoveled my way out of my house, came back, and since I couldn't make it to the gym, I worked out downstairs, and so that's my day so far.
Well, shoveling is
It's a lot of work.
going
It
to
was it was a
the
heavy
gym.
snow too, a very heavy snow.
Here in the country, we try to impeach Trump two times now. He got away, probably the first president be impeached twice and get away with it. And now this case been built for almost 5 years, and the district of New York or Manhattan, Mr. Briggs comes and surprise everybody that the grand juries indicted Trump and indicted Trump for paying hush monies to I don't know, sex work. I don't know. They call it. Everybody call it a porno star, a prostitute. I don't know what the title is. Illegal. We don't want to get in trouble. But this guy have sex with somebody. He's married. Nobody talking about adultery. The president of the United States committed adultery. This is not news. But he tried to pay her some money so she will not break the news. What is about the American political system and the legal system that they prosecute people because they lie or they couldn't define sex like Clinton?
Right.
But the one who actually caused criminals, mass murders, they are free.
Well, it's clearly, I think I would say, many of us are deluded by the idea of thinking that the statement in front of the Supreme Court building, equal justice for all, actually means something. And the reality is it doesn't. We really do have, unfortunately, a dual standard of justice. If you're Black, if you're Muslim, if you're a poor person, it's one standard of justice. If you're rich or a powerful person like Donald Trump, we treat you very differently at this point. So part of what I think you're hitting at is really puncturing the bubble of this myth of what American egalitarianism, of rule of law. When I was in college, there was this hilarious cartoon from the Village Voice back east in New York, and it talked about the invention of law. And it talked about how law was such a nifty thing that we expected everybody to follow it. And then it said at the end, except for those people at the very highest levels of government, like the CIA, the president, et cetera, like that. And I thought about that cartoon the other day, and I thought, I need to find that cartoon and bring it out again or something like that, because it's still true. You're absolutely correct. Is that as I keep telling people the last few days, Donald Trump, Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, none of them are Boy Scouts. I mean, what we're forgetting to right off the bat is what they did, you can't describe as ethically good at all. Whether they've broken the law, different question. I mean, what they did, this is bad behavior and ought to be shunned. But on one level, this is peanuts in terms of Trump giving an adult film star, where we're going to call her money to keep her mouth quiet. Well, you're right. I'm more worried about the fact that with Trump, that he tried to start a rebellion on January 6th, or tried to overturn an election in Georgia, or Obama, Bush. I can't think of how many presidents have ordered what? Deportations of individuals at the southern border, or have ordered drone attacks upon people across the world. That's the real criminal behavior. And as you point out, we're ignoring it. We sort of seem to say, well, that's part of their duties as president, and that's okay. But screwing somebody and paying them, that's not part of their duties, and we're going to go after them for that.
So we spend millions of dollars, almost billions, on trying to find a procedural mistakes. The
Right.
canon, what so we focus more on procedures over values, over
Right.
actually what this action is. Where is the procedure? And I think Zugman once said, he was reflecting on what happened in the Holocaust in Germany. Most of vicious and major and monstrous crime was committed by people who follow the law.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. One of my all-time favorite books, I think it was called Hitler's Willing Executioners. It's an amazing and scary book, and said that when Hitler took over, who were his judges? The people who were there from the Weimar Republic. And what these individuals did was they just enforced the new rules. They enforced the new laws. They thought about procedure and process, and they didn't think about the inner justice or fairness of the law. That we can follow rules that say, yeah, let's take away the property and life of people who are Jewish, or take away the property of people who are dissent, whatever it is. But the Nazi Germany, clearly people who are Jewish, and we can follow all the procedures. But just because we're following the right procedures doesn't make it substantively right in terms of what we're doing. And to bring back to what you're saying here is that we've got rules in place, or maybe not, that say presidents as commanders in chief can take actions to basically kill people, or do drone strikes, or violate international law by not letting asylum seekers in the United States. And we'll say, under US law, that's okay. Well, the rules may be okay from a procedural point of view. These are people. This is about human rights. This is about the day-to-day life of people who feel pain that we ought to care about. And you would think our democracy would care about that, but we've lost track of that.
It's interesting that now there is a lot of media coverage for what's going on in Israel,
Right.
and all the hoopla about what Netanyahu tried to do. This is the only democracy in the Middle East, and he's trying to side the Supreme Court and override that. And how could the only democracy in the Middle East doesn't even have a constitution, doesn't even have a Congress?
Yeah.
Just the military and some Jewish Talibans so the choices of the 2 million Arab there, or the Palestinian Arab who lives in Israel, they have Israeli citizenship. So the choices about this hoopla about democracy and all of that, the choice is who's going to control the 2 million Arabs, either the military and the secular left, or the right wing and those Orthodox Jew. So really, for the Arabs, 2 million people there, and other poor and people from Africa, it's not about democracy. That's why you don't see them in the streets.
Well, you're right. I was going to say is that even before Netanyahu, and even before this recent move, I have to think Israel is the 21st century version of apartheid South Africa. If you think about it, I mean, on one level, South Africa was a democracy for what? The white minority. I mean, they had a wonderful democracy. It's just that in apartheid, what was it, 90% of the population or whatever it was, or something like that. And we're at the same point with Israel now too. It's an apartheid regime that had sort of a veneer of democracy, and what Netanyahu is doing now is really stripping away any veneer that there was of it being a democracy. So we've got apartheid. He's turned into a Putin. He's turned into a Donald Trump. He's turned into a Viktor Orban. He's no better than these people. I remember
criminalizing your political opposition. Well, Trump had done that for all his career, or whatever, during the presidency. So now the Democrats, what is the idea of Democrat judges and a Republican judge What happened to our judicial system? Now it's overly politicized,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
becoming not say a democratic judge. It's even becoming even our veneer language. It's nobody is
yeah,
really bothered by it anymore.
yeah. Myths are myths, but sometimes myths are important and we have to live by them. And what I mean by that is that, yeah, we always knew that judges were humans, probably had their political views, but if they did their best to try to shelf them and we went through kind of at least some veneer, maybe we could contain some of the overtness of the politics. But just even taking it away from the from Trump for a second here, we have a U.S. Supreme Court where what it's clear what the ideology is. I mean, I would be a fool if I looked at the alignment and said it's 6-3 conservative. A case goes before the court. I can almost predict this without even using artificial intelligence. My stupid human intelligence can figure out where these judges are going at this point. So you're right. We've really reached the point where everything is politicized, um, and 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 therefore it really questions the legitimacy of so much of our decision making anymore. And thus, here with Trump, if I look at, bring it back to home here, if I look at all the charges that could be brought against Trump, paying off a porn star is small potatoes by comparison to some of the bigger things that we ought to be thinking about.
Well, there is another 30 charges. We don't know what there are.
Right,
Hopefully, his company discrimination against black
right,
hiring and housing and all of
right.
that.
Sure.
What talks about this? His racist policy. But what is the ramification of all of this on Trump future, political future?
Well, I think there's a couple of different possibilities here. Okay. So, first off, this may be only the first of several indictments. Again, we have two federal investigations. We have a Westchester County, New York investigation into tax fraud. We've got the Georgia one. Remember, this is the first former president or sitting president ever to be indicted for a crime. I think even though one case doesn't affect another, this could potentially be the proverbial, the breaking of the dam that others now feel like they can bring cases. So there's a whole bunch of other possible cases that could be brought, plus all these civil lawsuits that are being brought against him. For his base, they don't care. I don't think they care. As he said many years ago, he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and he wouldn't lose supporters. He's absolutely correct. Right now, Donald Trump is playing base politics. He wants to get the nomination for the Republican Party again. This might help him do it with his base because he's his base. He's taken over the Republican Party. Now, this might give some Republicans a reason to say, I don't want him anymore. It's certainly not going to help him with independence. So politically, I think it's short-term base, but longer term, I think it makes him even more unelectable. Now, I'm not going to say he can't win re-election, but it's certainly going to be with a lot more liabilities than he had even just a few days ago.
So somebody was telling me a theory about the Democrats just into prosecute him. He becomes a hero for his base. He wins a Republican nomination. Then the Democrat can beat him as they
Oh,
beat
yeah.
him. That was the theory. It's easier to beat him than DeSantis of Florida.
That's one possibility. The other possibility is, and again, we're all sort of sketching out theories.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah. The other possibility is, let's say he does get weakened within the Republican Party. Trump's ego is big enough. He doesn't want to be a loser. The end of this year or early next year, he bolts and creates the Magna Party and he runs as a third party candidate. That also helps the Democrats because if it's Biden against DeSantis and Trump, who's going to win? Biden's going to win a blowout election at that point. So I think, what's that phrase that Clinton used to use? The triangulation theory. triangulation.
What's the reaction from the Republican Party so far? Are they jumping ships, or they wanna are behind the doors, are happy what's going on because they cannot
Sure.
get rid of this guy, and he's becoming a liability for the party now?
Yeah. Short term, this is an incredibly big bonanza for Trump. Remember about 2 weeks ago, he sent out on the social media, he said, I'm going to be arrested on Tuesday or something. He raised a ton of money, of which he's going to probably use that for his legal defense fund now. He also silenced DeSantis and all the other Republicans, because basically what Trump did was what he does really well. He sucked the oxygen out of the news cycle, so none of the other Republicans could say anything or could get any news time. And now in the last 72, since Thursday, I should say that. I'm not, depending on when people watch this, since Thursday, on the day he was indicted on March 31st, the Republicans are continuing to circle the wagon around him. It's an incredibly smart strategy of strengthening his position by saying, poor me, woe is me, I'm being persecuted by Democrats, come to my defense.
It is now everybody's trying to criminalize a position or whatever, and voting is not relevant anymore.
Yeah. Well, didn't this happen in Florida 2000? The Supreme Court decides the presidential race, basically gives it to George Bush at that point. Not that I'm sure that Al Gore would have been much better, but gives it to Bush. But we have the courts actively involved now, and this current Supreme Court actively involved in striking down the Voting Rights Act, really affecting, who gets to vote and how elections occur. And now what we're doing is something that we thought we'd only see in, let us say, non-democratic countries. Basically, what? Criminalize the opponent, have them arrested, charged with something. I will bet you the quarter sitting on my desk here that there will be a point sometime in the next 2 years where the Republicans in the House of Representatives impeach Joe Biden, and they try to get an indictment against his son, Hunter Biden. Would you want to bet against me on this?
No, I cannot bet against anything. I don't know
Yeah.
what is going on because I don't know what is the chances of Biden now. Is his chances are stressing by all of this, because some in the Democratic Party, they were looking for other alternative. Now was happening to Trump. Maybe we should stick with Biden. That's the thinking.
Yeah, I think at this point Biden, is short of, I think, of any kind of major change in his health, he's going to run. It's going to be Biden and Harris again for lack of an alternative. And if it turns out to be Biden against Trump, probably a repeat of 2020.
When I was looking at the media on Friday, they all almost have the same all caps indicted, like everybody excited about this. What's your feel about how the media cover this?
Well, for the media, this is really interesting. When Trump ran in 2016, I've seen some stories that said he got about $2.5 billion in free media attention. I don't know what the exact amount is, but a lot. A lot of it. He made, during the 4 years that he was president, he made billions of dollars for the media because covering Trump just helped their viewership so much. I think this indictment is a bonanza for the media. They get to cover Trump even more, and focusing on him even more at a time when it looked like he was starting to fade and DeSantis was picking up. And DeSantis does not generate the media dollars the way Trump does. So this is a made for media trial. I mean, it's just, Hollywood couldn't write something better. An ex-president involved with a payoff to a porn star to keep her quiet. My God, This looks like a bad screenplay that Hollywood would produce. I don't know. The only other thing I could think of right now, how much of this is Wag the dog?
Yeah.
We cover this, we talk about this, and we don't talk about, as we started the show with, the tens of thousands of people that presidents have probably killed. Or I don't even know what the number is, but that's the story. As opposed to starting a war to take our attention away from a sex scandal, we do a sex scandal to take our attention away from carnage.
Well, what's going to happen on Tuesday? What procedure here?
Well, what's going to happen is we're not going to get what's that television show, Law and Order. We're not going to get the perp walk. We're not going to get the
handcuff things.
The handcuff. That's right.
Why can't they do that? Like those shows that they run after blacks and arrest them in the streets and
that's right. Yeah,
all that kind of thing.
Yeah. And we're not going to and we're not going to see him being read his Miranda rights. We're not going to handcuff him and say you have the right to remain silent, like that. Apparently, I've read
pushing his head inside.
That's right, exactly. Pushing it down there. Apparently, they're going to let him use a separate, non-public rear entrance for the courthouse. He will be not handcuffed. I don't know if New York, I don't know what the rule is, if in New York they allow cameras in the courtroom. I don't know whether what's going on there. But my guess is that we won't get what we see on television if it were the rest of us, in terms of the handcuffs, the orange suit, et cetera, et cetera. I'm assuming at some point his mugshot gets released, but I don't know. But it certainly will not be the justice or injustice, whatever phrase we want to use, that the rest of us would be subjected to.
One last thing. Is he going to be tried as an adult?
That's a really good question here in terms of whether we should try him as an adult.
So what is the crime? What is he accused of?
Okay, what he's accused of, we believe, is that when he made the payment to her, or authorized Michael Cohen to make the payment, he did that so she would not reveal information that could affect his 26th presidential campaign. If all that is correct, what he did was to make an illegal or undisclosed campaign expenditure under federal law. What makes this case interesting and so fragile, that's federal law. What we think the New York prosecutor is arguing is that federal crime was a predicate act, a prior bad act, and that what he then tried to do is cover up or hide the fact that he made this disbursement through the Trump organization. That becomes fraud. And because there was a prior bad act, this jumps New York fraud, common law fraud, from misdemeanor to a felony. If everybody's eyes are glazing over right now saying this is complex, this is complex. Now, there is possibilities, we don't know, we won't know until Tuesday, that there could also be some other tax fraud or bank fraud issues tied into this, because if he did conceal it through his business, he might have been using those business records to apply for loans, do other things. So who knows? So that's the part we've heard rumors that there's 30 different charges, but right now don't know. Just don't know.
Well, we're gonna have to wait that long. It's Tuesday, a couple of days in front of us. We'll get well and get the popcorn, and I think this is gonna be the OJ political trial here, and everybody,
that would be great if we could see him now driving. What was that? It was a white. Was it a Bronco or whatever? Remember?
Yeah, I know.
Whatever the car. If we could get him driving in that would be perfect. Okay.
I'll make a few calls.
All right, good. See you later. Thanks.
David, Professor of Political Science at Hamlin, and thank you so much for your insight. We'll be talking to you soon, I guess. It's not going to go away.
Right. Good. Thanks.